today I'm going to be teaching you how to grow a mango tree from seed. So when you eat a mango, there's that huge seed in the middle that's really annoying to cut in between and get around. But actually you can grow a mango tree pretty easily from it. It just takes some time. So when you cut into a mango, this is what you'll see. It's a little hairy thing. And it looks like it's got some veins on it there, but those aren't really veins. And what you'll want to do is you want to either crack it open, or you could just leave it uncracked. And to crack it open, so it'll be closed like this, really, really tight. And you take a butter knife and scrape like that. And then eventually you'll get a little opening like that. And then you just put both your thumbs in between it and pry it open. Make sure not to stick a butter knife into that crack, because if you do, it might damage the seed. Probably will damage the seed, almost 100% chance. And the seed can be damaged, but I wouldn't risk it too much. So after you have that open, you want to scrape. There's a little like papery skin. Sometimes it comes out when you pry it open. Sometimes it doesn't. And if there's really two ways of doing this. So you can do it the bag method, which is, you can see its growth, but it's a little bit more risky. And I have both of them done here. Or you could just put it directly into the soil. And if you're going to do that, you can leave the shell on or take the shell off. I would recommend taking the shell off, but you don't really have to. On this one, I actually did not take the shell off because I did not know what I was doing. And I put this in here like 6 months ago, and nothing came up for the first probably 5 months, and 4 or 5 months. And I just noticed these yesterday. I actually had a pot on top of this, and I lifted it up, and apparently through the drainage holes of the other pot, this one had been getting water, and 2 little mango sprouts came up. If you're going to grow these from seed, it's useful to know that mangoes are very, very often polyembryonic, meaning they have multiple embryos in the same seed. So you might get 2 trunks like this coming out of the same seed. And that's fine. You can always cut one if you really don't want 2, but I've seen up to like 6 come out of one seed, so just be aware of that. And it's not a bad thing, as long as you give both trunks enough room to develop. So after you take it out of the seed, you can either do the bag method or just put it in. Putting it in is pretty simple. You just bury it like on its side. There's not really a true orientation. It'll find its way. But I would do it on the side just so you don't do it upside down on accident. Because it's kind of hard to know which way is down. And that's pretty much it. Then you wait, and I would just try to pretty much forget about it. So just leave it alone for a couple months, and maybe check on it once a week or once a month, whenever, and just give it a little bit of water. That's pretty much it. You just pretty much neglect it as much as you can. And then you'll have these sprouts coming up. And the other method is the bag method. So you take a plastic bag, just a regular Ziploc bag, and you date it for when you're going to open it. So I opened this on the 3rd month of 29 day of the year, this year. And I just used an Arby's cup for this to pot it up. But for the bag method, you just get the seed that has the seed coat taken off. Because the seed coat will mold, so will the little papery skin on the outside of the seed. So those are more likely to mold than the seed itself, and mold is your worst enemy if you're going to do the bag method. So I would definitely start a couple of these if you're going to do the bag method, or both, because sometimes you just might not get anything, and sometimes it might take a very, very long time to sprout, or for you to see anything. And this one kind of messed up. So when I took it out of the bag, it's 100% humidity in the bag, so it's used to 100%. And when I took it out, I put the bag on top of it and I cut some one hole in this side, so there's still like a 50% humidity in there about, but that didn't really work too well. So this went through a lot of shock, and it was very, very young. It didn't even have first leaves yet. And so you see here, the first stem has actually necroded and died. So that's not what you want, but don't be afraid if that does happen to you. I was just gonna give up, but then this is crazy. I did not know this could happen. So this seed coat actually turned green. It's still green. So it started photosynthesizing and making energy. And then in the last couple months, probably a month, it shot up these two, and there's another really small one coming up right there. So that is pretty crazy. And I'm just really proud of this one. So for the bag method, you just pretty much wrap it in some saran wrap. Just same thing as paper towels. You can use paper towels, but since they're organic matter, it might mold. So I would just use a little bit of saran wrap, just wrap it up and put it in this bag on its side and keep it humid in there. That's pretty much it. It's really easy. So either method, it's pretty easy. You just have to wait a long time. Sorry, this isn't focusing. So today, since I just found this, mangoes have a really, really deep taproot, usually. So you want a pot that is very deep. So today I'm going to up-pot this because this is probably root bound in the bottom, or at least a little bit. And I'm going to try to see if I can find the original seed. So for this one, I just put it in, seed coat and all, and I forgot about it. So let's find out what's going underneath the soil. This is the seed, the original seed, right here, this little thing covered in dirt. And look at this taproot. That is deep. So it's just coiled up in there and very root bound. So if you do raise a mango, definitely get a very deep pot. And it looks like it actually had a third stem try to come up. Sorry, it never focuses. Looks like it tried to put out a third stem earlier. This little black part right here. And that kind of failed and necroded, just like this one. And so now it has two stems coming out and it looks pretty good. So I'm definitely going to need a very deep pot for this. And these pots definitely aren't deep enough. So I'm going to go try to find one deep enough for this. So there we go. We got it all potted up. This pot is about 12 inches deep. And it looks pretty good. Taproot was just reaching there. So in the future, I'm going to definitely have to look for a very, very deep-rooted pot, because this is the deepest I have right now. Probably just a tube or like a pipe. And it can be a little bit root-bound. I don't think I'm going to do anything as extreme as like 3 feet. I've seen people raise them in 3 feet long tubes, and didn't work too well. And I feel like that would just be very, very inconvenient. So I'm just going to try to find a middle ground in between those. And so this is the one that I raised just by putting the entire seed in the pot right here. And let's look at this one. I haven't seen any root action right now yet, but the roots are not pure white, so it's kind of hard to see. I'm sure this one doesn't have too long of a taproot. It might have reached the bottom, but I doubt it, and I'll definitely be able to see it when it's too root bound. But I'm just going to up pot it some other time, not right now. So that's pretty much it. So if you want to raise your own mango tree from seed, it's pretty easy, and I highly encourage you guys to do it. The only notes are, well, the soil mix, one. Soil mix can be anything pretty much, as long as it's not like heavy clay. You can use clay, like 50-50 mixture. I've seen people do that, as long as it's not super heavy. And you can use sandy soil, potting soil, pretty much anything. You can use manure, compost. I raised this in pure compost, and I kind of switched to a manure, potting soil, compost blend with some sand in it. So really whatever, they're pretty forgiving. And the second thing is, if you do raise these in a climate that is not tropical, which I assume most of you guys watching don't live in tropical climates, but you might. I would research if you can put this outside. I would definitely say you can put it outside for the summer, but probably definitely have to bring it in for the winter if you get freezes at all. Anything really below 40 or 50 degrees is probably not too good for it. If you have a greenhouse, though, you can probably put it in there as long as it doesn't get below freezing. And just research what you can do with this mango. So for this one, or these two actually, I'm going to just bring them inside in the winter and probably when it gets below 50 degrees, and just put them outside for the summer just to grow. And when they get too big, I'll just cut them back. And another note, third note, I probably wouldn't ever expect fruit from these. I have an avocado tree as well, and I'm not really going to expect fruit from them. It's just kind of something cool to do, and it's really cool that you can just raise a tree from any fruit seed, really. So I highly encourage you to do that, and just remember to grow native, unless you're growing mangoes or avocados, and have a good one.